Sarah saved £1,847 in her first year. It took everything she had: budgeting, tracking, sacrificing. When she did the maths, she realised it would take 6 more years to reach £10,000. 6 more years. She quit 3 months later. What Sarah didn't know is that she quit just before the point where everything changes. Not because she'd suddenly earn more, not because she'd get better at saving, but because at £10,000, money stops working against you. Below it, every mistake resets you. Above it, the same effort finally starts to stick. That's why the first £10,000 feels impossible, not because you're bad with money, but because below that line, the system is built on friction. And once you cross it, the rules quietly change. This is Sarah's story, and if you're sitting at £1,000, £3,000 or £7,000 right now, it's probably yours too. By the end of this video, you'll understand 3 things. First, why the first £10,000 takes longer than it mathematically should. Second, what changes at £10,000 that doesn't exist below it. Third, why the next £90,000 happens faster than you think. And once you see the pattern, you'll never look at saving the same way again. Let's start with Sarah's spreadsheet. Sarah was doing everything right. She had a budget, she tracked her spending, she automated £150 a month into savings. £150 times 12 months equals £1,800 a year. At that rate, she'd hit £10,000 in 5.5 years. But that calculation assumes nothing goes wrong. And here's what actually happened. Month 4, car repair, £680. Savings balance, £600 to £0. Month 8, rebuilt to £600. Then, friend's wedding abroad, £520. Savings balance, £600 to £80. Month 12, back to £1,847. She was technically saving, but she kept getting reset to 0. This is the first reason the first £10,000 feels impossible. Below £5,000, you don't have a savings account, you have an emergency fund that keeps getting emptied. But here's what Sarah didn't understand yet. While Sarah was saving £150 a month, she was also losing money she couldn't see. Let me show you what I mean. Sarah had £1,847 in her savings account, earning 0.5% interest, equals £9 a year. £2,400 on a credit card, paying 23% interest, equals £552 a year. An overdraft she dipped into twice a year, £60 in fees. So while she was saving £1,800 a year, she was paying £612 in interest and fees. Net progress was £1,188. That's why it felt like she was running on a treadmill. She wasn't lazy, she wasn't bad with money, she was paying the poverty tax. The system is designed so that below a certain threshold, your money costs you money. But there's a second trap that's even harder to see. After 18 months of saving, Sarah had £2,100 in her account. Then her laptop died. She needed a new one for work. The good ones cost £800 to £1,200. She had 2 options. Use her savings, reset to £900, start over. Finance it, £45 per month for 24 months. Total cost £1,080. She chose option 2, because using her savings felt like losing. And here's the psychology. When you have £2,000 saved and you spend £800 of it, your brain doesn't register it as, I still have £1,200. Your brain registers it as, I just destroyed 8 months of work.
So people below £5,000 will often choose debt over spending savings because debt feels like it's not real money yet. And if you've ever made this exact choice, financing something you could technically afford, you weren't being irrational. You were protecting the only progress you'd made. This keeps them trapped, and it's why so many people feel like they're doing everything right and still going nowhere. It took Sarah 3 years to hit £10,000, not 5.5 years like the spreadsheet said. Because in year 2, something shifted. Once she had £4,000 saved, emergencies stopped wiping her out. Car repair, she had the buffer. Wedding, she had the buffer. Her savings stopped being an emergency fund and started being actual savings. And here's what happened next. With £10,000 in her account, Sarah opened a fixed-rate savings account paying 4.5%. That's £450 a year in interest. She also paid off her credit card. That saved her £552 in interest payments. So just by crossing £10,000, she gained over £1,000 a year in cash flow, without changing her salary, without changing her spending, just by crossing the threshold. Now, here's where it gets strange. In year 4, Sarah saved £6,200. That's 4 times more than year 1. Same job, same salary. What changed? 3 things. 1, the poverty tax disappeared. She wasn't paying overdraft fees, credit card interest, or financing basic purchases anymore. 2, her psychology flipped. When she had £12,000 saved and needed to spend £800 of it, it felt like I'm still on track instead of I'm starting over. 3, compound interest became visible. At £15,000 earning 4.5%, that's £675 a year in interest. That's 4.5 months of her original £150 per month savings happening automatically. By year 5, Sarah had £31,000. She wasn't superhuman. She just crossed the threshold where money started working for her instead of against her.
So here's what's actually happening. The financial system has 3 invisible thresholds. Threshold 1, £0 to £5,000. Emergencies wipe you out. You pay the poverty tax, fees, interest, financing. Saving feels like punishment. This is the trap. Threshold 2, £5,000 to £15,000. Emergencies hurt but don't reset you. You stop paying the poverty tax. Psychology shifts from I'm losing progress to I'm building something. This is the breakthrough. Threshold 3, £15,000 plus. Compound interest becomes visible. You have options, better rates, investment access, negotiating power. Money makes money. This is the acceleration. The first £10,000 isn't hard because you're bad at saving. It's hard because the system punishes you for being below the threshold. Once you cross it, the same effort produces wildly different results. That's why Sarah's year 1, £1,847 saved, and year 4, £6,200 saved, look so different. Not because she got a raise, but because she crossed the threshold where the system stopped fighting her. This pattern shows up everywhere. In debt, paying off your first £5,000 of debt barely moves the needle on your monthly payments. But once you clear it, your monthly cash flow jumps and the next £20,000 disappears faster. In career capital, your first 3 years building a skill feel invisible. No one notices, no one cares. But once you cross the threshold of expert, opportunities compound. Promotions, offers, leverage. The pattern is always the same. Below the threshold, you're fighting friction. Above the threshold, friction works for you. The first £10,000 feels impossible because it is the hardest part. Not because you need to try harder, but because you're climbing the steepest part of the curve. And the tragedy is most people quit at £2,000, £3,000, £5,000 right before the game changes. Sarah hit £10,000 in 2025. By 2027, she had £35,000. Same job, same salary. The only difference? She crossed the threshold where money stopped punishing her. If you're sitting at £1,000, £2,000, £5,000 right now and it feels impossibly slow, you're not imagining it. The first £10,000 is the hardest, but not because you're doing something wrong, because the system is designed to keep you below the threshold. Every overdraft fee, every credit card interest charge, every financed purchase, they're not accidents. They're the tax you pay for being on the wrong side of £10,000. Most people never cross £10,000, not because they can't, but because the system makes sure quitting feels logical.